we just got the cams fixed there. And why don't we ask a few questions here? And those of you that didn't get a chance to get your questions in, next week hopefully you'll be able to get your questions. But the way we usually do it is you post your questions on this Reddit thread. I always post a Reddit thread each and every day we have Value Town. And what you do is you just put your question in the comments, or you upvote your favorite question so that we'll ask it on the show. And we always sort by the top questions, and then we just kind of read them off. So, all right. So Zio Dreiger asks, Trump, playing, I guess, your free mage, have you learned anything new that I guess you didn't know before?
Well, yeah, I have learned a few things. So I've learned that the mage's weakness is to these really fast Murloc rush decks, as well as the Warlock aggro, the Paladin aggro, whatnot. At least the first incarnation I had. That's why I've recently added the Arcane Explosions, which might still not be enough. But basically, the mage class, probably why it hasn't been as popular, is because unlike the Shaman or the Druid or the Paladin, has no early game, or I should say it has no mid-game mass AoE. So
okay,
that's a problem. So hopefully Arcane Explosion solves that. And also, playing a mage budget deck in particular, it's sort of useful to train because it makes me practice my greediness more, since when you're playing a budget deck, you have to really make use of every single part of your cards, so you can't just like polymorph something that's... You can't polymorph like Druid of the Claw, for example. You have to polymorph something better than that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You like to play greedy anyways, let's be honest.
Yeah, so that's why the mage deck is right up my alley. Also,
yeah.
It's really good to use the hero ability to fire blast something random, like instead of the face, even if it seems like it won't matter at all. It often does.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Zyan asks, when working on a constructed deck while climbing the ladder, do you find it wise to make adjustments based on what you're seeing at the time, or wait a day or two, or a different amount of time, and then make any major adjustments? I feel like when climbing ladder, it can be difficult sometimes to tell the difference between a meta shift as I rank up and a streak of unlucky games. I'm unsure when it is appropriate to start changing up decks. It's the same thing, basically. So, Strife, I'll let you answer this one.
I usually start changing decks based on if I can like realize like the weaknesses of them or make improvements.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't really look at like the metagame that much, as far as I mean, I guess I do like
you have to take it into consideration,
what the metagame is, right? But most of the changes are trying to like tune the deck to just be better in general, instead of tuning it to beat the metagame more. I guess the metagame thing is more like when you initially make the deck, like you make adjustments based on it, and as you kind of refine it more, you kind of just make like better decisions on what cards you want to include.
So when it comes to, I mean, so it's not result oriented at all. I mean, it has to be result oriented, right?
I mean, it can change so often depending on who you play that day, even. So
yeah,
it's kind of weird to make too many changes based on the meta, like what you're running into ladder that day.
Yeah.
But I think you should have a general idea in the long run of what the most popular decks are and what the strongest decks are, so you can kind of make adjustments like that.
Okay. Trump, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, Strife and I sort of have the same mentality from what I've heard over the last, that you want your deck to just be generally good against everything, and I think that's the right mentality for ladder, certainly.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you will face everything. So if you come to realize that your deck, through continued playing, is weak against a common type of deck, then I would recommend considering it. But if you just lose 5 in a row, I would say that's no need to panic.
Yeah.
It happens. It's variance. I've lost 5 in a row. It sucks, but you just have to believe in your deck.
It's part of the game. Yeah.
And then at a certain point, you have to stop believing in your deck and making changes. And it's hard to say exactly when that point is, but that just requires experience and having nerves of steel.
Yeah. So I guess to sum it up, definitely wait a few days or wait X number of games. Maybe X number of games against each class. I think would probably be a decent sample to figure out if you need to change it or not. Generally speaking, again, like Trump said, sometimes you can kind of get a feel for what things are doing and what might be just be inherently wrong in your deck. So, let's see. Next up, we got Skip to my Lou, to my Lou. What is the best? I guess what is the best way to get involved in the competitive scene? I wonder if he's talking about organization or is he talking about like as a player? I think as a player, you should just play tournaments. There's like a lot of tournaments, a lot of things that anybody can sign up for right now, like the mana grinds and the, mana grinds, the Liquid Hearth opens. I think even NESL, right? National ESL is having some non-King of the Hill events too that I think anybody can sign up for too. So definitely just get into that. Play ladder, of course, and if you're talking about organizational standpoint, I think just try to get your own little mini tournament going. And I know there have been a few Reddit threads where people have had the idea of just trying to put together their own and what the best way to do that is. Just do something like that. I mean, it is kind of hard, honestly, without the obs mode to actually do it at this point, but it's still not impossible. You can still use people's streams and that sort of thing as long as you get permission. I think those are probably the best things. Okay, we'll take maybe one or two here. Tantrum Right asks, when they nerfed Novice Engineer, I believe Trump said something like, card for 0 mana that simply reads draw a card would be way OP. Can you explain how this is, and do the other guys agree? So Trump, do you want to explain that?
Yeah, sure. So it's OP for two reasons. One, it's an automatic add into every deck because at some point there are some cards that are worse than your other cards. So you can play with a 28 card deck. If you could do that, you would, because you draw your better cards. Second of all, it would be insane in a Miracle Rogue deck because you just get a free spell, and then your Edwin Van Cleef gets a +2/+2, or your
it's true.
all your cards combo for free. Yeah.
It's like a 0 mana Arcane Intellect.
I.e. preparation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I guess it's just mostly, a lot of your curves are approaching the cutoff of 30. It's just basically, that if you add that card to the game, it just means that Hearthstone is a game where you can have from 28 to 30 cards instead of 30 card decks, Yeah. Because you can effectively make a 28 card deck.
Yeah.
By putting that, and it just replaces itself into another card.
Yeah, I mean, I think Trump and Kiri explained it pretty well to me. The day we were talking about tracking, I think tracking is kind of similar to why people think. Some people, I think for knee-jerk reactions is think like tracking, I'm going to be losing 2 cards, so it's actually bad. But I think the whole thinning your deck and increases the increases the quality level of the deck of the cards remaining, and yeah, so that's pretty much kind of how it works too. So tracking doesn't really kick, like I guess the disadvantages of tracking don't really kick in unless you draw out your deck, right, and you get to like the 29th and 30th card. So,
yeah, well, the real disadvantage of tracking is the cost of mana to
oh, that too. It's a one mana too. Okay, how about one more? Okay, EBBV asks, how much luck versus skill do you guys think is involved in getting 12 wins in Arena? It seems to me getting to 7 is possible as long as your deck isn't horrible, but getting to 12 necessitates a strong deck and dodging opponents with really insane decks. Do you need luck on your side? What do you guys think? Trump, you're our Arena expert here. I'll let you take this one.
I'd like to answer second on this one.
Okay.
Since I need to calculate some stats.
Okay. Strife, what do you think? It's been a while since...
I think you can get a very high amount of wins, an absurd percentage of the time, but just like if you're saying luck, there's clearly some luck because nobody can go 12 wins 100% of the time. It just depends how you run. I think that depending on really how you want to define consistently your luck, because it is possible to go 12 wins like very often. I think. I mean. I don't play a lot of Arena anymore. So I've only played 2 arenas since they changed it to 12. I think I went 12 one and then 9 another, but or something like that. But I actually played a fair amount of Arena when it was 9 wins, I believe. And I believe I went 9 wins over 75% of the time.
Wow.
And it was like
That's a
over. I think my
lot.
stats were like 27 wins, like 9 wins, and like whatever. I think like, it was like 6 or 7,
Yeah.
like non 9 wins. It's much harder at 12, so I don't know what it'd be.
75 sounds outrageous to me. I don't know. Is that right?
Wow, that's
Yeah,
really
it's fine.
good
I
if that's
calculated.
true.
That's wow. My the winning percentages in general are like 70%, so 75%. So that's crazy if you're getting 9 like that. Right now with a 12, obviously adding 3 more wins to it is definitely harder. And I think they changed the heuristic too, is how the matchup heuristic, where I think we've talked about on the show in the past, where it's like at 9 or 10 wins, they start putting you against other people with 9 or 10 wins, right? Which is
If it gets harder, yeah, it
yeah.
gets like exponentially harder to go.
And now there's more people too. It's open beta. There's probably like 4 or 5 times. I don't know how many times more, but a ton more people. So a ton more really great decks out there too. But Trump, you finished looking at those stats? You can report
Yeah,
to us some stats here.
So I agree that there's. Oh man, so it's skill. There's skill to get to 12 wins in arena, certainly. Like there's some
Yeah.
people where it would be astronomically low to do so, and as you get better, you actually have a chance to do so. Even for me, I only have about I have a 15% chance of getting to 12 wins. So
15's pretty darn good to me. It sounds pretty
yeah,
darn
that's
good
pretty
to
good.
me.
Yeah, 12 wins should be like way harder than 9. Like it should be because you're already getting to 9 most of the time with already like 2 losses, like 9-2 and stuff. So going to 12, especially if your players are actually getting harder, it's just way harder.
Yeah. So I guess to answer the question, Trump, like, would you say just it is a lot to do with luck, or
So ultimately, the entire game of Hearthstone has some foundation in luck. So it's really hard to quantify something. All I can say is that over the long run, your skill will
yeah?
outweigh the luck because luck is almost by definition a short-term thing, and skill is like over time your luck evens out because of the law of large numbers from stats.
Yeah.
So
That's true. Yeah.
basically, the skill is in getting as high a win rate as possible. That's all.
Yeah. This,
I completely agree with that.
yeah. The skill gives you just a higher probability of you're just a higher probability of winning, right? So if you're much, even if somebody has a greater, like if I went into the arena with Trump with an incredible deck, he's still his winning percentage is still going to be pretty darn good relatively speaking. So yeah. So anyway, so the skill ends up mattering a lot in the end. All right, I think that's going to be it. I think that's going to be pretty much just in time for Fight Night, guys. So I figured we would wrap the show just in time for that, so that you guys can switch over and watch. But Strife, amazing, man. I love having you on, man. It's always a pleasure having you on.
It was fun.
Got to do it again soon. But you want to do some shout outs? Thank yous?
No shout outs.
Yeah, no shout
I never know what to say for that.
You were on EG at one point. You don't know how to shout out?
Well,
Really?
yeah, but there were sponsors for that. And
Yeah,
now I just
true.
play. So
That's true. Okay. Well, if you haven't been watching the show, we have a legacy of just crazy shout outs. So continuing that trend, Trump, any shout outs you want to do?
Yeah, I'll shout out to Razor. In fact, on this weekend, I think I'm going to make it Sunday. I'm going to be giving away like a bunch of Razor swag on my stream.
Yeah.
Keyboards, mice, headsets, mouse pads, the whole shebang. To be announced on my stream later.
Awesome. Okay, I forgot I was going to do this too. But so my shout outs, big shout outs, obviously, both of you guys for doing the show with me today. Always a pleasure, always fun, always learn stuff. And wanted to ask you guys, the viewers, what size of shirt you wear so I can figure out like what distribution we can get these Value Town shirts for you guys. So go to the straw poll, go ahead and vote, and I can get a sense at least of how we should break it up. Small, medium, large, extra large, extra large, that sort of thing. So let me know, and VODs will be available on for the show on youtube.com/ChanManV shortly after, and all the past shows too you can find there if you missed any of them. Deck Wars tomorrow, Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be Savitz versus Reynad. Going to be good stuff, some really good games there, so I can't excited to show you guys, and I think that's it. You can follow us on Twitter at StrifeCro, at TrumpSC, and at ChanManV. And follow this channel if you enjoyed the show or just any of the shows I do. It's the best way to get notified whenever we go live. And that's going to be it for Value Town this week. So for StrifeCro, Trump, and ChanManV, we'll see you next time. Later.